You all set now? You found your crown? Okay, so we're still rolling. I haven't knocked anything off yet.
I didn't even know we started rolling. I just now started pouring.
So I started pouring. This is Rum Rants with Rob and Jay, and once again, it's just Rob and Jay, which is fine, because I think that's when you and I have our best conversations.
Yes.
It's just the two of us. And Jeff was supposed to be here tonight, but he got called into work, because apparently they can't function without him.
Well, apparently he, hey man, make sure you have the 2nd of October off, 2 weeks ago. And we all know Jeff and his attention to detail.
No, that's fucked up, man.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's true. All right. You'll smoke a turd in purgatory for that one.
Well, it's not like 2 weeks ago you could have just checked and said, hey.
Well, when you said, hey, let's do it on the 2nd.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Well, anyway, Jeff, I don't think he's had a chance to read it anyway. A couple of weeks ago, I brought up the whole Civil War comic. And I picked up the trade paperback from Barnes & Nobles, and this is kind of hard to find. I mean, it seems like it must be because the movie's coming out next year. They're out of copies for some reason. But I did read it now. I've said many times, not Marvel. I'm not a Marvel person. I don't know their history. A lot of this didn't make any sense. Like, they made reference, and they showed a lot of villains. I was like, who the fuck is that? No idea. Why Samson's in there, or is it Hercules? I can't figure out if that's supposed to be.
Hercules.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Which he picks up Mjolnir, which is cool. How did that happen? Oh, he smashes the robot with. Anyway, so because I wanted us to read it because it, of course, is the basis for the movie next year for the Captain America: Civil War, and it poses an interesting question that's also been posed in X-Men, which is, I'll get into that in a second. But should mutants or superpowers or whatever register? Like they're a weapon, like you had to have a carry, conceal license kind of thing. Is that a weapons thing, or is that a race thing, or a prejudice thing? Basically, in the fight, Civil War, oddly enough, the way it boils down is Iron Man's for registration, Captain America's not.
Right.
Where would you fall? What team would you fall? This is kind of like what was that stupid Twilight thing between the vampire and the werewolf? I don't even remember their names. Robert Pattinson, I think his name is, and I know who the werewolf was. I have no clue. But, Taylor Lawton, is that it? Taylor?
Fuck do I know.
Oh, fuck. Anyway.
Okay, so where would I fall through registration or not registration? Well, I don't think this is a race thing. This is a gun control thing.
You are for registration then.
For gun control? For
I didn't say that. I said these are people that say, for example, I know in the extreme case, but say, for example, somebody was born, literally their arms are guns and they're constantly loaded.
Right.
So that person couldn't walk around freely?
Well, basically you just described Edward Scissorhands with guns.
With guns, which essentially is a lot of superheroes anyway.
Right.
So it's a similar concept. Even in the first X-Men film, they had said, the senator says in the phone, all I see are guns in schools.
Right.
So, but at what point is the person more important than the mutation or the power? And who gets to decide what? I mean, with X-Men, it's especially interesting because with X-Men, it's an evolution thing. These guys are evolving into these things more naturally, I should say. It's weird in Marvel. In DC, superheroes are really almost worshipped in a way. But in Marvel, because they went this way early on in the 60s, they're more persecuted. But the ones that got superpowers either by an experiment or by an accident, they're fine with. Except for the Hulk, maybe. But Fantastic Four, even The Thing, Captain America, all the guys that were either made super by outside forces, either intentionally or otherwise. Somehow in Marvel, the interesting thing is that if you're born that way, then you're fucking disgusting, which really is bizarre if you think about it. It seems like somebody who, especially in the case of Captain America, who would volunteer to become a super soldier would be more looked down upon than somebody who it was either born that way or was an accident. You'd think, because they made the choice to be that way.
So they made.
I think Jay's brain just melted.
They made the choice. That's like saying a gay guy made the choice.
No. Captain America chose to be Captain America. I'm not saying no.
You're saying gay people are mutants?
In terms of the X-Men, yeah, they're treated pretty much the same way.
Oh, okay.
It's an analogy. It's an analog.
Just know how you felt.
Mutation's not a bad thing. It's what people do with it is the problem.
I think you just said gay people are mutants myself, but that's just me.
For God's sake.
I could be the only one that just
You are
heard
a
that.
simple creature.
No. All right. So the question is, do I think if mutants should register? Well,
And you basically said yes,
I think no.
but you're for gun control.
No.
In
Eh,
theory.
eh, no.
Yeah, it's too political. We're not going to go
All
there.
right. I had to think about it.
Think about that for a sec.
Remember last time we recorded, I said I'm running for whatever position
Yeah.
that you want.
Yeah, and I posted that.
Yeah, and that's great. So you're asking me to take a stand without hearing
Hypothetically, in a
With
comic
that-
book scenario, do
without
you
hearing
think
the
that,
argument?
that mutants and superheroes should register? What
a
side
good
would you be on?
politician never takes a stand.
Okay, well, even in a comic book, you couldn't say you would side with either Captain America or Iron Man. Is that it?
If I had to choose one of the two, yeah, I wouldn't choose either.
So you would just do what the X-Men did and just hide? Well, that's an interesting aspect of Civil
I would
War, is
say
the whole X-Men thing.
I would say I wouldn't hide like the X-Men.
Because I'll have to read how they ended up in that situation, where they ended up with the Sentinels watching them and they're in a compound and shit. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I don't either.
But it kind of echoes what happened in X-Men 1, like the movie.
Well, I mean, if you go with that, it's kind of like bring back the internment camps is basically what
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
what it seemed like. And it seemed like that's why they didn't get involved in Civil War, because they'd already given up. They'd already been like, yeah, we already sold out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird. But
anything's hard because in those situations where you have to make a choice, if you go back to the Civil War, it's brother against brother because one lives in West Virginia, one lives in Virginia or whatever. Don't remember the border line.
The Mason-Dixon line, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so who do you stand with? Your family on the south? Do you stand with your country on the north? Or do you stand just because that's where you live? So in that retrospect, there's nobody. Take the Spider-Man aspect of it.
Okay, Spider-Man, just for clarification, he was accidentally made super.
He was accidentally made super, and
he did some bad shit with it at first.
Yeah, and he chose Iron Man to be the first one to be unmasked. In front of the camera.
Oh, you mean Spider-Man chose to unmask himself?
Yeah, unmask himself in front of the camera,
which was interesting.
And there's got to be some. And there always has been with Spider-Man to me some naivete.
He's a teen. The whole concept of the character is he's young.
Not in this.
In Civil War he's been around a while.
In this graphic novel, he's married with children.
Right. But he's still like in his 20s. He's not Tony Stark in his 40s.
Right. I would say early 30s, but
okay,
whatever.
same. Yeah. Tony's like older than us.
But still, even in this, he's still portrayed as with that naivete or naivete, whatever, the innocence, to where he's gonna kind of always try to do the right thing.
What he thinks is the right thing.
Well, no, not not necessarily. And I don't want to say that
the white hat right thing. What would be in the movies the right thing?
No.
Okay.
I think there's a way that, and I don't want to say like obviously Spider-Man isn't innocence, but he is the antithesis of the hero, of the example, of
he's not typical.
No, he's not. He doesn't have a dark side.
Atypical.
Yeah, he doesn't have a dark side to him. I mean,
well, he did at first, and then it got beaten out of him real quick.
Well, a little bit, but
yeah. But even then, he wasn't doing anything to be evil. He was just being greedy.
But in that, it goes back to: do you follow your friends? Do you follow what you believe, or is there a way to play both sides?
Well, sometimes on both sides, you end up getting everybody pissed at you.
Well, yeah, that's true, but you also make.
Remember some of those sergeants we used to work for that were dicks, but we respected them because they were always dicks. They were always that way. You knew where you stood with them.
I'm not talking about that. It's more or less, if you take like Gambit from the X-Men.
Yeah.
All right, Gambit isn't an X-Man.
How did he get his powers? Is he a mutant?
Yeah, he's a mutant.
Okay.
But he was always kind of like a contractor. He was always like
more of a mercenary, I'd say.
Yeah, a mercenary. So you've got that route. So in my case, in probably everybody's case, I would think that they would want to be more the mercenary because they have friends over here. They believe in this. If we're doing the right thing for this mission for today, but I might switch sides because I might think that I'm right. Spider-Man actually did this.
He was the center of the whole thing.
Yeah, in the graphic novel.
He realized, oh shit, they're gonna abuse this power of controlling us.
But there's a way to stay neutral. Either A, you just don't give a shit and you do your own thing. Anyway, like
that's Switzerland.
Yeah.
I am
Um,
Switzerland.
I think there is something to the registration process. I don't think it would be a registration though. You would already know, and this is kind of the mutants type thing.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you. There's something that happens. They're already gonna know because you're gonna go see a doctor. Like something's fucked up.
Some of the
So it's
mutations,
the
especially, are obvious. Like
Yeah.
if somebody looks like a toad.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So I would say 90% of that would be taken care of through insurance companies anyway. You know,
Gosh.
like
Is it a pre-existing condition?
exactly. But still,
Well, every time I sit down and I fart, I burn a hole through my chair. Well, I'm sorry, sir. That's a mutation existent. Pre-existing condition.
you know, through my eyes and thinking about it logically, the government, whatever, is gonna know because you're gonna go to a doctor said, this is wrong. Or if you had guns for arms, you'd be like,
I think any decent doctor would understand what it actually is.
but you would still go to the doctor. The doctors still have to report to the insurance company, and you would already be in the system.
At that point,
So-
would that be a mandatory reporting thing, like child abuse or like assault? You know how doctors and certain social workers and whatnot are mandatory reporters? Like if somebody reports a crime.
I think that's different.
But that's where we're going. That's the slope we're on.
It kind of is, and I'll go with the entire issue that I had with the entire freaking book.
Okay.
And I picked up on this early. The whole registration process. What I didn't like about it is that it was America Central. Like mutants,
America-centric.
like mutants are superheroes. There were none anywhere else in the world. Now, I was thinking about that, and then they actually go to like one that's in Africa.
Right.
But
the issue is, should they register in America? This isn't about somebody else.
Yeah. So
like Black Panther's from whatever.
Right, and then in the end, like some like exiled to Canada or wherever, decide to live somewhere else, and
Logan.
well, there's Logan, there's a few others. I even think Captain America did that for a while.
I'd have to look at it again. I only read it the one time. I should have read it again.
Yeah, me too.
Again, not that steeped in the Marvel lore.
But I think that with any mutant, with any superpower, with anything, you're already going to be known through insurance companies, through doctors, because it's going to be. It's like that now. It's like that now.
Where does HIPAA and Privacy Act come in to enter real world stuff? Because I'm assuming in that reality they would also have government restrictions on personal information. So HIPAA and Privacy Act are two things that govern that. And would that be a medical condition? But then you're getting into it's a disease. Is it a disease? Maybe they mentioned this in the X-Men films. It's a disease. No, it's not. Well, you don't shed on the furniture. That's basically what Beast says, what Kelsey Grammer says. So it is a really thick issue, really.
It is. But to register or not, I think you'd already be known. There's a way to mask. Like, let's say I was Professor Xavier, and I could read people's minds and control their thoughts.
I shudder to
that
think.
that is something you could totally hide from the rest of the world, and nobody would know.
Well, yeah, some mutations are subtle.
So in that case, that's where the danger comes in. It's not from the obvious, like his skin is blue, like.
And most of those guys don't have any powers anyway, except for Nightcrawler.
Right.
Which I love that scene in X-Men too. It's one of my favorite scenes in a superhero movie ever.
But when you're talking about a hidden power or something like that, you're never gonna know. Registration's not gonna do anything. Registration is, first off, they have to admit it if it's a hidden power, like what Professor Xavier has. It could just be, because to me, he's like a dude in a wheelchair. Really fucking cool wheelchair, but the dude in the wheelchair.
I'm sure the cool wheelchair stays in the compound when he leaves the.
Right.
Yeah. He doesn't have to hover through town.
So registration doesn't seem
practical.
It's a bureaucracy. Hey, if you want to, volunteer. I think I had a problem with. I think this is more going along with. No, this was in the comic book. Because I just started watching the TV show
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
But this was in there too. Like you register, you become an employee of the government. That's the part.
Like a government.
Well, the
contract mercenary.
Yeah, the superheroes became a. And
this season on Agents, they're going into the Inhumans thing, which I'm really looking forward to. But
okay, so now you're a government employee. Well, that's not half bad.
You and I have both done that.
You get pretty damn good benefits, and I think they even mentioned that, like we get health benefits when we actually get paid for this shit.
I get paid, I get benefits, and I get to blow shit up. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, see, and that's, I think, if it'd be like joining the military. If you're already doing it, you might as well collect a paycheck. I mean, why why would Peter Parker continue, getting $200 paychecks every 3 weeks being a photographer when he can get a nice government paycheck? Blah, blah. I think that's the part where you're required to be an employee of the government. I think that's where that kind of
a lot of money. But
well,
yeah.
But
But
I think
you could cut back on military too with it. If you think
could.
about it.
Well, I mean, I think he.
If you cruise into a hot zone like they were supposed to do in Fantastic Four and drop the Thing in there, done.
Right.
That would take
Done.
what, 2
except
or 3
for
battalions?
except for now you're thinking that other countries don't have superheroes in them, or
See, DC
or
covers that a
villains.
bit more than Marvel does.
Yeah,
I think
they do.
they mention that a lot with the Rocket Red, and China, August General, and things like
Yeah.
that.
So I think that's where the registration. First off, it's bureaucracy, and you'd have to volunteer to register, unless it's just obvious. Like you might as well just go register, blue skin dude.
We see the blue skin pal. It's like the old Dennis Leary joke. We only save the cute ones.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, if it's obvious, you might as well register. I think but that's mutants versus superheroes, having them being forced to work for a government, which they might.
Well, then
not
there's another
understand.
category
and
of
that goes
mutant that
to,
doesn't want to do the superhero thing or the villain thing. They just want to be left the fuck alone.
Well, yeah, like all right, I registered, yay,
So then, what's the deal with the masks? What's the deal with the masks then? You notice Hawkeye doesn't wear a mask in the films. He does in the comic, or at least he used to.
Is Hawkeye?
He's not a mutant.
He's not. I don't think he's not
like
a
Green
superhero.
Arrow. He's like Green Arrow.
He's not a superhero. He's
as much as Green Arrow is.
As far as like he doesn't have any powers or.
He's a Green Arrow, Blue Beetle kind of character. Yeah.
So.
But he's awesome. But yeah.
I mean, when it comes to like Batman and Hawkeye, they're just vigilantes anyway, which is what superheroes really are.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, vigilante technically, even Batman even says that in Dark Knight Returns. We are all criminals, Clark. We operate outside the system. You just answer to a boss. That's the only difference.
I was going to go with kind of along the same line with the Justice League. Why did Batman leave the Justice League?
Well,
I'm
which
sorry.
area are you talking about?
Kicked out of the Justice League, voted out, because he planned a way to
take everybody out. But then you got into Identity Crisis. You found out they changed his memory, and there's a reason he planned all that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I'm not going to get into that history, but
I'm just going simple.
That's a good point.
So
it's an excellent point. Fucker, you had the plans to take all of us out. He's got the box of kryptonite for Clark. He's got whatever he had for everybody else. I mean, it was a really interesting plot he had for the whole team.
So if you go that route, is that what you're afraid of the government? Is like they're going to figure out how to take you down? Like they already, if they know all of your superpowers and mutant powers, doesn't matter. That's kind of what you're registering for. Is like, all right, if you do go rogue, if you do like mess up, well, now we know how to handle you.
Well, and that's another Dark Knight reference. He says to Clark, "Who are they going to send after you when it's your time?" Mm-hmm. Basically, who the fuck could take you out? I'm sure they've got somebody.
Yeah. So, superheroes age.
And see, I'm kind of curious about this old man Logan thing. It kind of defeats the purpose of Logan, but some age, well, most age.
Right.
There are a few that don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, generally they age, and
yeah, kids, if you haven't read Kingdom Come, read that book.
And they're going to need their benefits.
Okay.
So
what is a pension plan for a government employed superhero?
Right.
That is an interesting concept. But that actually, I'm serious though. Read, if you probably haven't read it, Kingdom Come, where it talks about the end of the superhero era in a little bit different way than Dark Knight does. It's kind of more of a, what if the superheroes back in the 50s had decided, or not decided, but were like forced to quit and then go about their different ways.
Right.
Which kind of was in Dark Knight as well, but it was just a darker kind. But, okay, we're getting into, granted, I'm always getting into DC because I know it way better, but it's similar concept in Civil War. So basically, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that you don't necessarily believe in registration, but you understand it.
Of course I understand it. I mean, if you didn't understand the idea, then I wouldn't be able to, run for whatever elected office you want me to run for. But I think it creates a complete bureaucracy that's unnecessary.
Most bureaucracy is unnecessary, but anytime the government's spending money, that's one thing I try to explain to people. We've worked in government bureaucracies most of our adult lives. And the people who don't, or people who haven't for many years, tend to think, why can't things happen immediately? because it's a fucking bureaucracy. Anytime the government spends money, every penny must be accounted for. When you go to the civilian sector for a service, they don't care. They just bill your ass, or they bill your insurance, or they bill whatever. They're going to get their money.
Yeah.
The government has to give money for us to give you whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's a different creature, and I wish people would figure that out. Well, my work is kind of bleeding in the show.
Anyway,
where
was I going with that?
Well, I was trying to kind of surmise what you were getting.
No, I think registration is pointless. It's gonna be obvious. 90% of the time, the people that can actually hide their superpower or their mutate is they're either gonna self-identify or they're not, and keeping it hidden or use it for bad shit. And then that's when, think of any terrorist. They're not out there publicizing things or
until after the fact.
Well, yeah. But we still catch some of them. All of them, I don't know.
TS isn't.
Well, let's.
Couple of our.
I wasn't going with percentages,
yeah,
but.
A couple of our off-duty, on leave in Europe soldiers caught
right.
one, but no, TS hasn't caught one in what, 10 years?
Yeah, I know.
We won't get into that.
Right. So it's really up to the individual, unless you're obviously your skin is blue, then you don't want to see a doctor. And even if then, you go see a doctor, it's gonna be known. The FBI is gonna know about it. Like there's something going on with that. Somebody in this area.
That reminds me a little bit. I think was it Denny O'Neil who wrote The Hard Traveling Heroes back in the, I want to say, late 60s, early 70s. It was Green Arrow and Green Lantern. It's in that documentary I told you to watch. At one point in the series, a black man comes up to Green Lantern and says, "Hey, I've seen you help blueskins. I've seen you help everybody but me, but the black skin." Basically, so it kind of, what you're saying.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's really a very powerful moment, and I kind of like it when comic books get a little, and that's what Civil War has done. That's what Dark Knight did. When they get a little political, a little bit, and they kind of make you look at society as a whole. I'll tell you, in terms of which side I would pick, I'd make them register.
Yeah.
That's it. Make them register. As far as I'm concerned, I make two kinds of decisions in my life in the real world. I make them based on triage. I make them based on cost-benefit analysis.
Right.
I'm either an emergency responder or I'm an economics major. That's what I do. That's how I make decisions. If I don't have time to make cost-benefit analysis, I do the immediate, do the triage. What's the worst thing that that's going on? But in a situation like this, you have time to sit back and look at it, and I can only look at it from an economic point of view. From an economic point of view, now granted, I'm going to caveat this and say the only way this could never work, I agree with you, it's impractical. But for me, the reason it's impractical is because you would have to suspend everyone's civil rights to accomplish it. Back in college, I was taking some humanities course about poverty, some required thing, and we have a big homeless problem in the Northwest, huge homeless problem, and it's because of our climate and because of our generally liberal attitude, especially in the major cities, not so much in the rest of Oregon, but in the major cities. I remember my professor. This was an online course. I remember my professor said, "Do you think homelessness could ever be abolished?" Basically, do you think that what happened in Star Trek is possible? Because they eventually abolished all war and abolished all homelessness and went and fought the Klingons. And my answer was just kind of like what I just said to you. No, it's not possible. You know why? And oh my God, before I could even explain, I got blasted with messages and FUs, and basically even the professor was ripping me a new one. And I said, look, I'm a student of economics. I'm a business major. Keynesian economics always says there will be under and unemployed people. Period. There will always be that because there's a cycle to it. That being said, there will always be homeless people. There will always be homeless people because there will always be mental illness, and there will always be under-resourced, underutilized, disenfranchised. There will always be that because in order to make them not homeless, you'd have to force them to not be homeless. That means you have to suspend their civil rights, and that's not going to happen under our current system. Our current system is built that you can bend civil rights quite a bit in certain cases, but on a large scale, you cannot simply suspend civil rights just for that issue, unless it's martial law, and that's a different issue. Right. Sounds like you have something to say to that.
No, I've had the same class. In the same discussion, completely different school.
I don't understand how they can be so pissed about a logical answer. But whatever.
It can't happen simply because some people choose to be homeless.
Bingo.
And that's the simplest answer you can go with. Some people choose not to have that responsibility. Some people choose to be wanderers. Some people choose.
These street kids that live out here? They choose. They're able-bodied.
Yeah.
They're perfectly capable of getting jobs and shoveling. Anybody can shovel horse shit, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But they won't do it.
Right.
Now, where they're getting money for fucking meth, I have no idea. But whatever.
Well, yeah, and I think that's, I don't think that's America central or centric.
America-centric.
Yeah, that's
It's definitely
that's everywhere.
Northwest-centric. But
No, I'm just saying, like, people want to be wanderers. People want to go from here to there. I
well,
think
it's cool when you're David Carradine and
Yeah.
you're wandering China. You're going on a walkabout. But that's
Right.
actually Pulp Fiction's a perfect argument for that. It's
Yeah.
a perfect side.
Yeah.
So you're going to be a bum. No, I'm going to walk the earth.
Right.
So I get that.
Yeah. So you're always going to have those people that choose, and then they're going to, I hate to say it, and then they're going to play on the shoestrings of the liberals, and it's not even them that's doing it. It's going to be the politicians and all of them. Look at our homeless. We need more money for this. Blah blah. They're going to use that example. But as long as people choose not to work, or people find an easier way out, and I go back to, there was a dignity thing. One of my favorite books ever, every time I go on vacation, is The Odyssey.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Words
Odysseus
to live by.
Odysseus chooses when he goes back home. He finally makes it there. He goes and sees, not a witch, but somebody with superpowers with powers to disguise him, so he can see what's going on in his country as a homeless.
Just brilliant, really,
Yeah.
from a management point of view.
As a homeless person, as a beggar, and he's like, there's a dignity to being a beggar, and there's absolutely a dignity to being a beggar, if you are doing it right. I mean, he gets the shit beat out of him, just for being a beggar, in one scene, Which
he
goes,
allows, because he could totally wipe people out.
He's like, fuck it.
Dude, I've faced the Cyclops, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's a dignity about that, and some people choose that's the easier route. Like, I'd rather beg for my food. I'd rather just sit here and do nothing. As long as you have that attitude, you're never going to change homelessness. Now, that's the simplistic answer, and that's like a kind of a weird answer. Can we solve homelessness? No, you can't solve homelessness.
No, not unless you're in a military state.
Even you go like the Soviet Union. They waited in 8-hour lines for bread. That's not solving homelessness.
No.
Everybody gets their piece of bread.
Yeah.
But how far does that piece of bread go?
Well, there's nothing to strive for either.
No. So.
Which is why we're capitalists. We're not democracy. We're capitalists.
Well, yeah.
In this country.
Something.
Go on.
So wherever if you believe in like the invisible hand will adjust,
Which I do.
Accordingly.
I'm a free market person.
I am too, for the most part. But there's overdoing things without getting too
political.
Right.
Wow, our conversations lately have been
Jesus,
like this.
H.
Well, but that's why I wanted to bring this up, because that's what Civil War is about. This is precisely what Civil War is about.
So there's always a medium, and there's always an invisible hand to it. But if you go back to that, people want to be. It's to your point. People want to be left alone. Like, I have this power. I'm not using it. I don't care. Yay! I can juggle 500. My power is juggling 500
I can move
things.
shit with my mind, but the only thing I do with it is open beer.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah. So why register that power? Why? I see the logic. I see the reasoning. I see the threat. I absolutely do. But you say economics, where I say it's pointless bureaucracy.
They both are valid. Yeah.
The biggest entity in the United States is the Social Security Administration.
Yeah. That's why they keep stealing money from it.
It is. It employs the most people, and look at how that's ran.
Because it's the great common denominator.
Right.
Everyone is involved in that.
Well, I mean, it's the biggest employer in the United States.
But that's why they have all the employees, because everyone's involved. Whoa. Dog fell. Come here, Bubba.
But and that's registering. That's a whole other layer, of bureaucracy that's economically not sound. I'd rather spend my money on defending the motherfuckers. Like,
okay.
All right.
See, now I saw a graph recently that said we spend $57 billion, or way more than half of our annual budget on military and warfare.
Right. You know why?
Everything else is like a little sliver.
You know why?
Because it creates something. I don't know.
No, because it's what we're good at.
See, we had this discussion last time.
It's the simplistic answer.
It is our biggest export.
We are good at war. We make money going to war.
That's true. That's actually absolutely true. It got us out of the Depression. Now it's a fact.
So when I was in, they offered the government offered every soldier $5,000 just for going there.
Every American soldier?
Every American
Were
soldier.
you allowed to accept? I didn't think so.
The government offered $5,000
Yeah.
for every American soldier that went there. The United States government said, no, we are not mercenaries.
Yep.
But we'll go ahead and take that money.
Of course they will. Those whores.
And they did. Because that's what we're good at. It's not...
We get to play the hurt saint at the same time as the greedy devil. I mean, we get to play both sides of the coin.
Right. But it honestly is. You know, people say that we're the police force of the world, and that may be true.
Well, we're doing a pretty shitty job. That's we only enforce things where we have interests.
Well, we only enforce things in countries that hire us.
That's a good point too. Yeah, because they have things we want.
No, it's not even that, because they have money. So you look at counties. Certain counties contract police departments from other counties or from the state or from here.
Yeah.
Certain cities do that.
Well, remember in the service, that was kind of us too. Well, the reserve contracted with us to have more guardsmen.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's not our government doing that to other governments. We do that locally within our city. So
that's how we operate.
One of the richest cities in the state, or I should say the richest city, has one of those contracts with the county. That county's like, hey, your contract's up. What are you gonna do? they pulled the police force. Like, all right.
Well, yeah.
And that county's like, or that little city's like,
oops. What do we do now?
We need a police force. Come on back. But they did. And that city, they shopped around for other little contracts of other counties and whatever.
Well, that's how any subcontractor contract works. You submit a bid, the lowest bidder with the reasonable amount of accuracy gets the job.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, we don't spend a lot of money at war or being war pigs or whatever. We invest our money at being war pigs because putting your money at something that you're good at is better than putting your money in something that you're bad at. You know,
like social or medicine or
a good thing. Healthcare. Where does the best medicine come from? Not from the States.
Oh God, no.
No, our doctors.
In fact, half the time they won't allow it because the pharmaceutical companies are lobbying in the government to keep those things out.
The best doctors, researchers are in Sweden and Geneva and
to bring it back to comic books, that cartoon they made of the death of Superman, which is quite different than the book. And Lex Luthor is fiddling around on his whatever it was at the time, BlackBerry, and he's like, I came up with a cure for, I don't know, leukemia or something, and he hands it to his assistant and goes, yeah, it's a straight up cure, but see if they can tweak it and make it a lifelong treatment, because that's cost effective.
Yeah, it's I think the biggest one that drives me nuts. God, we get on politics.
I'm still bringing it back to.
All right, the biggest one that drives me nuts is, and I agree, college tuition is like fucking
insane.
Kind of insane.
Education
but so is housing. Housing's even more insane.
Yeah, but both of us being homeowners at one point or another.
Right. And college graduates.
But because we went to the military, I mean, we use the system the way it's intended.
Right.
In a way.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I see Germany, provides free college tuition for all of their college students.
Some countries require 2 years of military service for every male 18 of age.
That's what I was going to bring about. Yeah. There's requirements. It's not like every jackass gets to go to college. You have to make requirements through, which is
precisely why we went to college, if you think about it.
Your high school, you have to make requirements through this. You have to test. You have to make. It's not like, can you go to college? No. Why? I would have never gone to college in that. Well, I knew that. Graduated out of high school. That's why I went to the military. It's like. Yeah. Well, that's why I still wasn't even in the military. I still wasn't even mature enough to handle college.
Not even. I'm so glad I went to the college in the time we went.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because I didn't have the self-discipline to do it.
No.
And that's.
Well, this reminds me of something I was sadly to admit I was in Walmart, which I really try to avoid. But I was in Walmart, and now here in Washington they allow liquor in the grocery stores, like in a lot of states. And I was standing there buying liquor, as I do. And somebody comes bebopping by. I mean, these were rednecks. These were white trash rednecks, which is so typical in Walmart. And I was standing there, so I'm not saying I wasn't taking it myself, but they come bebopping along, and they look at the prices on our liquor, and they start really going off. And I suddenly realize these people are Canadians.
Yeah.
And one of them actually turns to me to make a smart ass comment and says, "I can't believe you guys get liquor for so fucking cheap." And he kind of turns and puts his hands on the rack where the liquor was,
Mm-hmm.
and starts shaking it as if he's taking it up the ass. He's like, "Oh, they fucking rape us for the cost of our liquor," something to that effect. And he walks away, and I said, "Yeah, it must be all that free health care." Fucker. The reason our liquor's cheaper is because we got to pay for our fucking health care. I do want to say this about the homeless thing. I have a real peeve about panhandling. My peeve about panhandling is similar to tying up your food when you're camping.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feed the bear's not coming into your camp.
Correct.
Okay? People giving these people money, or whatever they're giving them, which usually they won't only take money, you're enabling them to do this. You're not forcing them to do anything different. So you are allowing them. You are making them into this. I'm not saying that they're not lying or cheating. The ones that are veterans really get me, because I'm like, hey, the right over here. Fuck you, like whatever. But the people that and when my daughter was in the truck with me, and I saw people hand people, I would yell at them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. I think they should start ticketing people who give money to panhandlers. It's like George Carlin said. You tack a few white middle-class bankers to a cross on halftime of the Monday Night Football, that drug traffic's going to fall off really fucking quick. That's the people you need to nail. If you start ticketing people for giving money to these folks, they will fucking stop.
Well, and that was the original theory to the war on drugs is, you start going after all the people who are using, having a dime bag.
That's just hitting the symptom. That's not...
Yeah. It's almost, I absolutely see your point when it comes to the homelessness, but in that case, what do? Do you put more money and more taxes and more shelters? No. Why? Because if they're sitting out there, they're not going to freaking...
That's because they're not being forced to. I got to tell you, most of the accomplishments in my life, sometimes I put myself in that situation to be forced, but it was because I was forced to. Like you said, back in our 20s, we were lazy, ignorant shits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We both knew each other at that point.
I joined the military because I had nothing else to do, and I didn't. It's not that I didn't want to do anything else. I'm like, I don't have.
For me, I didn't want to go to a Christian college. I had pretty much an open invitation to do that because I graduated from a Christian high school, and I was like, no. And I remember when I told them I was joining the military, not going to college, they treated me like shit after that.
Well, my exact answer to my recruiter was, I really have nothing else better to do. Because I was looking at
I have no skills.
Being a bus boy for the rest of working.
Yeah, you had no skills.
Working in a warehouse, I'm like.
Neither did I.
I'm like, I might as well. I seriously had no other future at all. No, yeah. So one of the things that when you said rednecks, I was like, for some reason, Larry the Cable Guy popped into my head. I'm like, dude, people don't. Yeah.
Which I love Tomater, by the way. I'm a big Tomater fan. I don't really like Larry.
Which is fine, but a lot of people think that's him. That's not.
No, it's an act.
That's a total act. It's
like weird when he drops it too.
That's like those Duck Dynasty guys. Mm-hmm. You don't think nobody thinks that those guys went to Berkeley, have a master's degree in economics and business and shit. Like, yeah, that's all an act.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That
when you hear Larry on a rare occasion on film, he's dropped the act. It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck are you? That you don't even sound like the same person.
So, where was I going with this?
Well, you were talking about Larry. Talk about it's an act. We're talking about rednecks.
So basically, people are fooled easily.
Well, yeah.
I'd love to have your wife down here when I say.
No more. No.
When I say Donald Trump, go. It'd be awesome. Trust me. But I think that's part of the thing is that with going to this whole registration thing, it could be a riot, it could be a civil riot, it could be an act, it could start a riot. Who knows?
You and I were both born after the civil rights movement, so we kind of missed all that.
Yeah, I think our generation is more like, all right, whatever. Do your thing, leave me alone, and I don't care. And I think that's just
be gay, be religious, just leave me the fuck out of it.
Maybe not. Our generation may have been the beginning of that, but definitely you look at the millennials, your kid, my niece. My niece could give a shit about.
Oh, my kid is indifferent as fuck.
Yeah, they don't care.
I'm a staunch right wing, and I'm not, but to her I am because she's just.
Yeah, well,
What?
And my niece, who's, older, out of the house, 20s. I think, now, don't get me wrong, she is like all about making money.
Good.
But when it comes to your personal life, either A, you're her friend and you don't ask much from her. Not a little, she helps.
It's a position. I get it.
Yeah. Or if you use her too much, she's done with you.
Oh, good, bingo.
But she doesn't.
Those are leeches anyway.
But she doesn't care what or who you are. I mean,
No.
she grew up as poor can be.
Oh yeah. It's funny. I actually want to mention this story because it's one of the funniest stories you've ever said to me. When you came home one day early. Now, just for clarification, his niece lived with him, as your child, as your dependent. And when you came home with the boyfriend there, and you were expecting to catch them fooling around, so what did you find?
Nothing. It was very disappointing.
You actually snuck around the house, didn't you?
I did. I snuck around the house to see, all right, what are they doing? What's going on? You expect like
something.
And I was so I was confused.
Now, describe what you saw when you looked through the sliding glass door.
I saw one on one end of the couch and granted, my couch is 14 feet long.
It's huge. It's bigger than my couch.
So they're 14 feet apart.
Yeah.
In a house by themselves. Nobody else is home. Nobody expected to be home for another 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, they thought they were free and clear.
Yeah. And I see them 12 feet apart. Not even like hugging or next to each other.
Not even cuddling or nothing.
And I'm like, I was confused. I'm like, I'm so proud as the adult, but kind of disappointed as like I'd have been
all up in that shit.
I don't understand today's youth. And I really don't. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that confuse me about today's youth.
But the funny part, before you move on to that, I just want to say, when you told me that story the first time a few years back, I reacted exactly the same way. I'm like, I'd have been fucking, oh my God, fucking panties that have been off an ankle, shit. And you're like, yeah, me too. Not that I wanted to see that, but I was a little like, this is my niece. This kid's related to me, right?
Yes, I was like...
When I think of the shit that I told,
I was so proud, but at the same time, like,
I would say you're more relieved. You were more relieved,
yes.
And yet you probably, in an odd, strange, twisted way, you'd have been prouder had you actually caught them at least doing something.
Yeah, I have a few stories like that. I don't really want to say.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's actually heartening.
But I mean, when it comes to like today's youth, I just don't. This is my biggest. Like, I don't understand why they don't even attempt to get their driver's licenses.
That fucking weirds me out. Although my daughter is anxious to drive.
I can't figure this out. Like a friend of mine, his kid, there's a car in the garage waiting for her. He bought a car for her, sitting in the garage. All she has to do is go take the test. And she's like,
I have an idea why that's the case. Because our generation's a lot more fun to be around as parents. Think about it. I wanted to get the fuck away from my parents. My kid likes hanging out with me because I'm fun.
Right.
I like doing the same shit she likes doing. We spent all summer watching superhero movies and talking fucking nerd shit.
Yeah, but okay.
You're laid back. That's you. Your daughter or your niece, daughter, whatever, same thing really. Your niece is laid back just like you. You guys are clones of each other. You guys can be around each other without getting on each other's nerves.
Right.
I hated my folks. I just want to get the fuck away from them. That's why I wanted.
I was kind of like that. My dad's the same. I mean,
now your folks are nice, but
you've met my dad. My dad could just like nothing could be said for.
But you still wanted to get the fuck out of the house.
Out of the house. That meant freedom. That's like
exactly.
And I lived where the buses ran. The kids I'm talking about don't live where the buses run.
That's where I grew up. There were no buses where I grew up except for the school bus.
I had a license. I had a car, but yet I still took mass transit more than I drove my car.
It was simpler. Me, I drove all the place because I lived in the country.
My car caught on fire a lot. So.
Well, so did mine. But I had buddies who could work on it. I'd just end up at so and so's house. Like I broke down in front of your place. Hang on, let me get a wrench.
Yeah. Well, when I took my car out, I literally got lost in places. Like
we've already told the story about you running over somebody. Okay, we'll skip that.
So I mean, at least I had a bus, and I grew up as a transit kid, which is fine. And I understand transit kids.
I was a bike kid and then a car kid. That was me.
If you rely mostly on transit and you just don't have a car, then what's the point of getting a license? Still learn how to drive because you may need to.
Even without a car, I was anxious to get a license just to have the license.
But when you live where we live and where the buses don't run, and you have a car on the driveway.
That's pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, and this is her, the boyfriend, her friends, my friends'
Oh my
kids.
god, we waited
like,
for somebody to have a car. Like,
Yeah.
we all piled into that son of a
Uh-huh.
bitch. When we go to the drive-in, $5 a car,
Mhm.
we would cram 20 people in a fucking B210. A
a
Datsun.
B210.
I'm telling you, dude. Like, is this everybody? Yeah, just don't open the trunk.
Yeah.
The funny part was seeing them in the drive-in and like, oh fuck, the trunk is stuck. Where's the key?
Mhm.
Thank you for listening to Rum Rants with Rob and Jay on Sterling Broadcasting. These morons can be reached on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and at rumrants@outlook.com. All copyrighted materials are used for review and discussion purposes only. No copyright infringement is intended by members of the Rum Rants podcast or Sterling Broadcasting. Thank you.